it's really interesting because they're very, very interesting people. All of them, like you talk about knowing people in a band. It helps if they have personalities. That's like,
sure.
It's like even like the Monkees weren't even a real band, but they were personalities. So they became a real band to us. Fleetwood Mac, there were big personalities. Like I've often thought of Lindsay as one of the most cerebral musical geniuses I've ever met. A lot of musical geniuses are very intuitive and directly sort of like about getting hands-on with stuff. But he is very cerebral guy, very in his own head. Stevie Nicks is the most from her heart. She's very bright and, wonderful, but also totally from the heart. And I've often thought that's why, like, the connection people have with her, which is like, you notice how like Dolly Parton and Stevie are probably maybe the only performers, maybe the only, I don't know if the fan base seems to just keep growing for those two women.
True, yeah.
And I think it's because they just in different ways make an emotional connection. I think that's in music, the head is only so powerful. So that you and I, all of us can think, like Lindsay, I know how much Lindsay made those records. He's a sonic architect of the Fleetwood Mac records, but it's really nothing without Stevie either, because Stevie is the heart of that band. And in a weird way, it's like, I think Christine, by being not a needy, emotional, like, I don't think she needed, I think she needed to make music. And I think what's interesting is I think she had the perfect ability to balance Lindsay and Stevie. Like Lindsay always talks about so respecting like Christine's musical ability, because Christine, and in fact, a lot of the best stuff in Fleetwood Mac, I think, comes from like their blending musically. Like I think of like The Chain and World Turning. I could be wrong, but I sort of think of like because she had this sort of, I think, in a weird way, Lindsay had to sort of will himself to understand the bluesiness of Fleetwood Mac.
Sure.
I think, and he would cover Oh Well and do things early on, but I think they sort of got into that. That's what The Chain to me is. It's sort of like Lindsay and she reaching out and getting it right back to the root of Fleetwood Mac, which it's like, I did liner notes for a collection that's, I think all these Fleetwood Mac collections just sell and sell. Like in England, there's something called Don't Stop, which is just like the greatest hits of all the eras on, is it 1 or 2 CDs? But I wrote just a few short words for the introduce that. And it's like, in a certain way, it's insane that you have one record, which is supposed to cover from Peter Green running a blues band to, Tango in the Night. Right. But I think Christine probably was a big part of that. Plus the rhythm section, which I think any good band, like we'll talk about Bono and Edge forever, but like the truth is the rhythm section is also the heart of the band and the pulse. And if you interrupt that, that's why like when you find, I always think of the REM thing where you both must be REM fans, right?
Oh yeah, that's my
that's your group.
That's my U2. Yeah.
Has there ever been a case where like the drummer leaves and no matter what you do, it's not as magical? I love certain songs and all, but I think it's like, who would figure that could make such a difference? And it's like, it's kind of like when retroactively with Ringo, you go back and listen to the Beatles with Pete Best and you go, yeah, this is like the Beatles, but it sucks because it's not the Beatles. Right. And I think maybe I'm wrong, but I always felt that with Bill. Like there was very much, he was very important. And I don't know, other than, did you ever meet REM or any of those guys?
Just shaking their hands and
I don't know him well. I interviewed Stipe once. I think I interviewed Peter Buck once, but I did have the experience of going to see Springsteen do his what was supposed to be his Unplugged, but then he being Springsteen made it plugged. And I was at that show. I in fact caught when he performed one of his worst songs ever called Roll of the Dice. He threw the dice out and I caught it. That's my only moment that's my Zelig like Bruce moment.
I will have to watch that.
I don't think it's in the special, but I fucking
But I know. I
caught those pink dice. They might be somewhere in my house. But at that show, I'll never forget, because I love REM, they were walking around, the four of them, as like a group. And I thought, like the monkeys.
Yeah.
They were like,
You want to
oh, we're REM and we're watching Bruce. And it was super cute. And I always liked that. And it's like, especially meeting Stipe later, and he can be so hipster, artsy, and you can kind of find he's the greatest singer. And he was very nice to me only time I ever really talked to him. But I always thought the saving grace was they were somehow a real band of brothers, like as different as they might be as people, they really seem to be a real band.
Did you talk to Stipe was this during REM?
I talked to him right after REM.
Oh, okay. Because that's what I loved about the band. They broke up into teams of two. Whenever they did interviews, it was never just Stipe. It was never just Peter Buck. It was always, Peter Buck and Bill Berry, or Mike Mills and Michael Stipe. They'll mix it up, but it was always two guys representing the band.
Charming. I tell you, I once got the bad end
Not
of
for
that.
the interviewer.
I was once sent to do a cover story on it for not Rolling Stone, for some small publication paid me to do some interview with Red Hot Chili Peppers. And it was like one of those things where it's like, you're going to get two of them. Yeah. And it's like, not these two.
Well, I know we get pushed that as well. So,
right, that's how you got me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
You wanted my wife. And then
Where's
they said,
Fran?
no,
That's
she's
Fran.
unavailable.